Most people have no idea what is quietly happening to the prices of everyday things right now. Not the big dramatic headlines, not the stuff everyone is already talking about. I mean the slow, steady, almost invisible shift happening on the shelves at Walmart, Costco, and your local grocery store. Right now, in 2026. I've been tracking this for months. I check prices, I talk to people in these industries, I dig into the data, and what I keep seeing is a pattern that most Americans are going to miss until it's too late. Today, I'm going to walk you through 15 specific things you need to consider buying before the prices go significantly higher. Some of these are going to be obvious once I explain them. Others are going to surprise you. And number 8, I need you to stay for number 8, because when I found out what's happening with that one, I genuinely could not believe it. It changed the way I shop every single week. Before we get into it, if you're new here and you want to stay ahead of these kinds of trends, hit subscribe right now. We do this kind of research so you don't have to. Let's get into it. This list is built around one simple idea. Supply chains are under pressure, costs are rising upstream, and retailers are absorbing as much as they can before they pass it on to you. By the time you see the price jump on the shelf, the decision was made 3 to 6 months ago. So the window to act is right now, before most people catch on. Here are 15 things to buy before prices skyrocket. Chapters, item. Number 1. Canned goods and shelf-stable proteins. This one might sound basic, but hear me out, because the numbers behind it are not basic at all. Canned tuna, canned chicken, canned salmon, canned beans. All of these categories have been quietly absorbing cost increases for the last 18 months. Manufacturers have held prices as long as they can. But the cost of steel for cans, the cost of fuel for fishing fleets, and the cost of processing labor have all gone up, and that pressure has to go somewhere. Industry data from early 2026 suggests that shelf-stable protein prices are expected to rise anywhere from 8 to 15% in the next 2 quarters. That's not a small number when you're buying in volume. I looked this up myself after noticing that a 12-pack of canned tuna I've been buying for years quietly went from about $9 to $10.50 without any announcement. I thought it was a one-time thing. Then I checked the brand's price history going back 2 years. It wasn't a one-time thing. If you have a pantry, or even just a dedicated shelf in a closet, now is an excellent time to build up a 3 to 6 month supply of canned proteins. Buy what you actually eat. Don't over-rotate into things you'll never open. Buy the tuna, the chicken, the black beans, the chickpeas. Put them somewhere cool and dry. The shelf life is typically 2 to 5 years, so there's almost no downside. You don't want to be paying 14% more for the same can of tuna 6 months from now when you had the chance to buy it today. Chapter, item. Number 2. Olive oil. This is one that anyone who cooks has already felt, but it is not done yet. Not by a long shot. Global olive oil supply has been hammered by back-to-back poor harvests across Spain, Italy, and Greece, the 3 countries that produce the vast majority of the world's supply. 2024 and 2025 were brutal crop years. Prices already roughly doubled in some categories. But here's what most people don't realize. The trees that were stressed during those droughts take years to fully recover. We are not looking at 1 or 2 bad seasons. We are looking at a structural supply problem that is going to keep olive oil expensive for at least another 2 to 3 years. I spoke to someone who works in specialty food importing, and they were very direct about it. They said the wholesale costs they are seeing in early 2026 are not temporary. They are baked in. If you cook with olive oil regularly, buy a larger container now and store it somewhere dark and cool. Olive oil does not last forever. Typically 12 to 24 months before quality degrades. But if you go through it regularly, buying in bulk today at current prices is smarter than buying in smaller quantities 6 months from now at higher prices. Look at Costco's Kirkland brand or Warehouse Club equivalents. The per ounce price is significantly better, and the quality is solid. This is the kind of thing where being ahead by just a few months makes a real difference in your grocery budget. Jacker, item. Number 3. Laundry detergent and cleaning supplies. Household cleaning products are one of the most price-stable categories in retail, until they aren't. And right now, the cost inputs that go into making detergent, dish soap, and multi-surface cleaners have been creeping up quietly for over a year. Petrochemical inputs, surfactants, packaging, all of it costs more. The major brands like Tide, Dawn, and Seventh Generation have already done one round of price increases disguised as package size adjustments. That is the classic shrinkflation play. You're paying the same and getting less. The next move is the outright price increase, which typically follows the shrinkflation phase by about 6 to 12 months. When I checked the price per fluid ounce on Tide at my local Walmart last month compared to what I was paying 2 years ago, the math was sobering. Some configurations are 20% more expensive per unit of cleaning power than they were in early 2024. And retail analysts are projecting further increases. Here is what I recommend. Buy the largest format available and buy multiples if you have storage space. Powder detergent stores better than liquid. It doesn't degrade as quickly and takes up less space per load. If you have a Costco or Sam's Club membership, the warehouse format is where you get the best protection against near-term price increases. Cleaning supplies do not expire quickly. A well-chosen stockpile from today will serve you for a year or more. Protecting your household budget means getting ahead of the predictable increases, not reacting to them after the fact. Check yours item. Number 4. Coffee. If you drink coffee every day, and most Americans do, this one is going to hit you directly in the wallet if you're not paying attention. Coffee prices at the commodity level hit multi-decade highs in late 2024 and into 2025. Brazil and Vietnam, the two dominant coffee producers in the world, have both dealt with significant weather disruptions. And unlike some agricultural commodities that bounce back quickly, coffee trees take years to mature. The supply pipeline for quality Arabica and Robusta beans is constrained for the foreseeable future. Major roasters including Folgers, Maxwell House, and even premium brands like Starbucks packaged coffee have already done price increases. But commodity analysts are signaling that retail prices haven't fully caught up to what roasters are actually paying for green coffee right now, meaning another wave of increases is likely before the end of 2026. I noticed this myself when I started buying whole bean coffee in larger quantities. The per pound price at my local specialty roaster went up twice in about 8 months. When I mentioned it, the person behind the counter didn't even try to spin it. They just said yes, their costs went up significantly, and they had to pass it on. Whole bean coffee stored in an airtight container in a cool, dark place holds quality for several months. If you drink ground coffee, buy it in larger formats and freeze portions you won't use within a month. It holds up well frozen. Buying a 3-month supply at today's prices is a smart hedge if you have the storage. This is not a luxury item for most households. It's a daily staple. Protect your access to it at a price that makes sense. Sexual item. Number 5. Flour and baking. Staples wheat prices have been volatile for 3 years running now, and while they've pulled back from the extreme highs of 2022, the floor has risen. What used to be cheap has become modestly priced. What is modestly priced now is likely to become expensive. All-purpose flour, bread flour, baking powder, baking soda, sugar. These pantry staples are your insurance against a food budget that feels out of control. They're the ingredients behind homemade bread, pancakes, muffins, and a dozen other things that are significantly cheaper to make at home than to buy pre-made. The trend data on packaged baked goods, store-bought bread, rolls, pastries shows consistent price increases that are running well ahead of the raw ingredient costs. The markup on convenience is getting larger. Buying the staples and doing more at home is both a hedge against inflation and a direct cost-saving strategy. I started buying 5-pound bags of flour in multi-packs at Walmart, and I switched to a 25-pound bag for bread flour after I realized I was going through it fast enough to justify it. The per-pound cost difference is meaningful. Stored in airtight containers away from moisture, Flour keeps for 6 to 12 months easily. Build a baking staples shelf. Flour, sugar, salt, baking powder, baking soda, yeast packets. This collection costs you very little to put together and gives you flexibility and protection for months. Takuja, item. Number 6. Medications and OTC health supplies. This is one most people never think about until they need something, and the price has changed. Over-the-counter medications, generic pain relievers, antihistamines, cold medicines, antacids, first aid supplies, have been quietly getting more expensive. Part of this is supply chain. Part of it is the pharmaceutical industry quietly shifting costs, and part of it is simply inflation that has reached the health aisle. Generic versions of common medications have seen meaningful price increases over the past 2 years. The gap between brand name and generic has narrowed in some categories because generic costs have risen. That's a real shift in how affordable this category is. The practical move here is not complicated. Check what you and your family use regularly. Allergy medication, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, antacids, cold and flu products. Buy a larger supply of your standard brands now. Most of these have expiration dates 2 to 4 years out. There is no financial reason not to have 6 months of the things you know you use. I keep a dedicated health and first aid box, and I do a restock twice a year. The last time I restocked, I noticed the per tablet cost on the allergy medication I use had gone up almost 30% from what I was paying 2 years ago. 30%. On a product that was already in my medicine cabinet. That was the moment I decided to always buy the larger format and to stock deeper. Your health supplies are not a place to be caught unprepared or overpaying. Buy ahead. Chakuas, item. Number 7. Pet food. If you have a dog or a cat, you already know prices have gone up. What you may not know is that we are likely not at the top yet. The pet food industry runs on the same supply chains as the human food industry: protein, grains, packaging materials, transportation. All of those inputs are under cost pressure. The pet food market in the United States is one of the most consistently growing consumer categories, which means brands have pricing power. And companies like Purina, Hill's Science Diet, and Blue Buffalo have demonstrated a willingness to use that pricing power. Multiple rounds of price increases have already hit the pet food category over the past 2 years. Retailer analysts expect additional increases in the back half of 2026 as new supply contracts are renegotiated at higher input costs. I spoke to someone who manages purchasing for a regional pet supply chain, and they were not optimistic. They said the brands are not hiding the fact that more increases are coming. It's a matter of when, not if. If you feed your pet a specific brand that they do well on, and switching food causes digestive issues for many pets, so consistency matters. Buying ahead makes a lot of sense. Dry kibble stores well in its original sealed bag for the duration of its shelf life, which is typically 1 year from manufacture. Buy 2 to 3 months ahead of where you normally would, especially during sales. A pet food haul at Costco or PetSmart during a promotional period at today's prices is better than buying week to week at tomorrow's prices. Your pets don't understand inflation, but you do. Plan accordingly. For item. Number 8. Butter and dairy basics. Stay with me here because this is the one I mentioned at the beginning. This surprised me more than almost anything else I found when I started looking into this. Butter prices in the United States have been at historic highs for extended periods over the past 2 years. The USDA has reported butter prices that are significantly above the averages of even 5 years ago. And what is driving this is not a simple or short-term story. Dairy herd sizes in the US have been declining for years. Farmers have been exiting the business because the economics have been brutal. Input costs up, milk prices volatile, margins squeezed. Fewer cows means less milk. Less milk means less cream. Less cream means less butter. This is a structural supply reduction that does not reverse overnight. At the same time, demand for butter has held firm. Consumers prefer it. the food service industry uses enormous quantities of it, and export demand has been strong from markets that prefer American dairy. When I looked at the wholesale futures data for butter in early 2026, what I saw was not a market expecting relief. It was a market pricing in continued tightness. Retail prices at the grocery store have already moved up, but the ceiling may still be above us. Here is what I did. I started buying butter in larger quantities and freezing it. Butter freezes beautifully. You can freeze it for up to a year with no meaningful quality loss. The next time you see butter on a good sale, buy several pounds more than you normally would and put them in the freezer. At Costco, the 4-pound packs are significantly better per pound value than 4 individual 1-pound sticks at a regular grocery store. Take advantage of that pricing structure while you can. This is one of those items where being strategic right now will genuinely save you money over the next 12 months. Nasha's item number 9, gasoline and automotive supplies. I want to go slightly broader here because this category touches everything else on this list. Gasoline prices at the pump are visible and politically sensitive, which means they get discussed constantly. But what gets less attention is the cost of everything that keeps a car running. Motor oil, filters, windshield wipers, brake pads, coolant, belts. The automotive aftermarket supply chain is under real pressure in 2026. Parts sourcing that used to be straightforward has become more complicated. Manufacturing of many components is concentrated in regions that have seen tariff and trade disruptions, and the cost of labor at repair shops has gone up significantly. Certified mechanics are in short supply, and they know it. If you do your own vehicle maintenance, stocking up on motor oil and filters when you find a good price is a smart play. The price per quart of oil has crept up and is likely to continue. If you have a car you plan to keep for years, buying the supplies for 2 or 3 oil changes in advance at today's prices is not hoarding. It's just smart budgeting. And for those of you who take your car to a shop, building an emergency fund specifically for auto repair is more important now than it was even 2 years ago. A brake job or a timing belt replacement at 2026 labour rates is meaningfully more expensive than the same job in 2022 or 2023. The cars are not getting simpler. The labour is not getting cheaper. Expect more and plan for it. Dasru. Item number 10. Rice and dried grains. Rice is the single most consumed grain on the planet, and its price trajectory is something every household should be paying attention to right now. Major rice exporting countries, including India, imposed export restrictions in 2023 that rattled global markets. Some of those restrictions have been modified, but the underlying message was clear. In times of domestic pressure, countries will prioritize their own populations over exports. That is a geopolitical reality that is not going away. On the domestic side, rice prices in US retail have moved up and held at those higher levels. There has been some stabilization, but not a meaningful reversal. Other dried grains, lentils, split peas, barley, farro, have followed similar patterns. These are some of the most calorie-dense, nutrition-rich, budget-friendly foods you can store, and they have shelf lives that can extend to years when properly stored. I keep a rotation of dried lentils and long-grain white rice as staples. Last year I upgraded from 2-pound bags to 10 and 20-pound bags from restaurant supply stores, and the savings were immediately visible. The per-pound difference is substantial. And with good airtight containers or even sealed mylar bags for long-term storage, these keep essentially indefinitely. Build a grain shelf. Rice, lentils, dried beans. This is not extreme prepper behavior. This is what our grandparents did as a matter of course. It is just smart household management. And in the current price environment, it is also excellent financial protection. So item number 11. Frozen vegetables and fruits. Fresh produce is affected by weather, fuel, and labour costs in ways that make it particularly price volatile. Frozen produce captures those foods at peak nutrition, usually at a lower cost per serving, and gives you stability that fresh simply cannot provide. The frozen vegetable and fruit categories have seen price increases too, but they are less dramatic than what has happened in fresh produce, because the supply chain is more industrial and thus more predictable. The gap between fresh and frozen is widening slightly in favor of frozen in terms of cost per serving. And nutritionally, frozen is not inferior. In many cases, the produce is processed at peak ripeness, and nutrient density is preserved very well. I made a conscious switch about a year ago. I still buy fresh produce for things we eat within a day or two. But for vegetables, I cook into meals. Peas, corn, broccoli, green beans, spinach, I buy frozen in large bags. At Walmart or Costco, the cost per pound on frozen spinach or mixed vegetables is dramatically better than fresh, and there is zero waste. Nothing goes bad in the back of the fridge. If you have freezer space, this is one of the most practical things you can do right now. Fill your freezer with vegetable variety. Buy the large format bags. Make room if you need to. This is one of the most direct ways to insulate your grocery budget from week-to-week price volatility. Shakchu. Item number 12. Paper products. Toilet paper and paper towels. I know what you're thinking. We all remember 2020. But this is different, and I want to explain why. The paper products industry is dealing with ongoing capacity constraints. Pulp costs are up. Energy costs at production facilities are up. And the major manufacturers, Procter & Gamble, Kimberly-Clark, Georgia-Pacific, have all implemented price increases over the past 2 years. More are expected. What's particularly notable in 2026 is that some retailers have been pulling back on the promotional depth they offer on paper products. The buy two, get one free, and the deep sale events are getting less frequent and less generous. The margin on these products is thin enough that retailers are absorbing what they can, but the floor on promotional pricing has moved up. When paper products go on sale now, the sale price is often what the regular price was a year ago. That's how much the baseline has shifted. If you have room to store them, and paper products are bulky but lightweight, buying a large pack at a good price is always the right move. Toilet paper and paper towels do not expire. They are never going to be cheaper than they are today compared to where they are going. A closet shelf with a 3-month supply is not excessive. It is just sensible. Shut. Item number 13. Baby and toddler products. If you have young children or are expecting, this section is particularly important for you. The baby and toddler product category has been hit hard by supply chain disruptions, brand consolidations, and input cost increases. Formula prices have partially come down from the crisis highs of 2022, but are still elevated compared to pre-pandemic levels, and supply security remains a concern for many parents who remember what shortages felt like. Diapers, wipes, formula. These are non-negotiable household expenses for families with young children. The price trajectory has been consistently upward, and the major manufacturers know they have a captive audience. Families do not switch diaper brands lightly, and they cannot stop buying. I've talked to parents who have built diaper stockpiles across sizes to stay ahead of both size changes and price increases. The strategy makes sense. Diapers and wipes are stable products. A baby goes up in sizes predictably enough that buying a size or two ahead is manageable. If you have a young child, think about your monthly spend on baby supplies and ask yourself what it looks like if that number increases by 15 or 20% over the next 18 months. Then think about what it would cost you to buy ahead now at today's prices. The math usually favors the stockpile, especially if you can catch a sale at Target, Amazon, or Costco. This is protecting your family's budget in a very concrete and immediate way. Shakta. Item number 14. Batteries and small household electronics basics. This one caught me off guard when I started looking at it. The battery and small electronics accessories category, AA, AAA, and specialty batteries, surge protectors, extension cords, charging cables, has seen meaningful price increases tied to materials costs and supply chain changes that most consumers have not noticed yet. Lithium, nickel, and other materials used in battery manufacturing have experienced significant price volatility. While some of those commodity prices have corrected from peak levels, the manufacturing and retail pricing does not always follow commodity prices down as quickly as it follows them up. Retail margins get rebuilt on the way down. Batteries are one of those things you always need and never think about until you need them. Remote controls, smoke detectors, flashlights, kids' toys, the demand never goes away. And at Costco, the warehouse pricing on AA and 8AA batteries is substantially better than buying small packs at a convenience or drugstore. The per battery cost difference is dramatic. Buy a large pack of AA and 8AA batteries now if you don't have a supply. They last years in storage. Same logic applies to the basics. A good surge protector, a reliable extension cord, replacement cables for your common devices. These are not glamorous purchases, but the alternative is paying more for them later when you desperately need them. Being prepared is not dramatic. It is just efficient. Dafon, item. Number 15. Your local staples. Whatever you buy. Every single week. I want to close this list with something personal because I think it's the most important item of all. You have a list, even if you've never written it down, of things you buy every single week. Maybe it's a specific brand of pasta. Maybe it's a certain type of snack your kids love. Maybe it's a coffee creamer or a salad dressing or a specific hot sauce that is your household staple. Maybe it's the protein powder you use every morning. These items are your personal inflation vulnerability. The products that are specific to you and your family's habits are often the ones where price increases hit hardest because you can't easily substitute something else without friction. I want to challenge you to sit down this week and actually write the list. Not the general list, your specific list. The exact products you buy on autopilot. Then look at the prices you're paying now. Check what you paid a year ago if you can. Then ask yourself, what would happen to my household budget if all of these things cost 15% more in the next 12 months? The answer to that question should motivate you to build a modest, strategic stockpile of your personal household staples. Not obsessively, not at the expense of your emergency fund or your other financial priorities, but deliberately and with intention. Buy 1 or 2 extra of the things you know you will use. Rotate your stock. Pay attention to sales and buy deeper when you find them. This is not something complicated. This is just what smart households do when they are paying attention. And right now, paying attention is exactly what you need to be doing. Here is the pattern I want you to see across everything we talked about today. This is not about any one product. It is not about one supply chain problem or one bad harvest. The pattern is that the cost of living for everyday Americans is being pushed up from multiple directions simultaneously. Energy costs, agricultural disruptions, labor costs, materials, logistics. And those pressures are not going away in the next 6 months. They are structural. They are going to work their way through to you and your grocery bill, whether you are ready or not. The people who feel this the hardest are the people who react to it after the fact. They see the price on the shelf, they wince, and they pay it because they have no alternative. They have no stockpile. They have no flexibility. They are exposed. The people who feel this the least are the ones who looked ahead. They bought the coffee when it was $10 a bag, not $14. They filled the freezer with butter when it went on sale. They have a pantry that gives them breathing room. They are not panicking. They are not suffering. They are just working with a buffer they built before they needed it. You have the ability to be the second kind of person. Not through any special income or advantage, just through attention and intentional action in the next few weeks. Most people will wait. Most people will notice too late. They will see the prices and feel blindsided because nobody told them this was coming. But you watched this video. You know what's happening. And now you can make a different choice. Start this week, even if it's just 1 or 2 things from this list. Go to Costco or Walmart or wherever you shop and buy a little more of the things you know you'll use. Build the habit. Build the buffer. It compounds over time. If this video was useful to you, I would really appreciate it if you'd hit like and leave a comment below telling me which item surprised you the most. Is there something on this list you're already doing? Or something you hadn't thought about until today? I genuinely read the comments, and I love hearing how people are applying this kind of thinking in their own households. And if you want to keep getting this kind of ahead-of-the-curve information, the stuff that doesn't make headlines until it's too late to act, subscribe right now. I put out new videos regularly, and this is exactly the kind of research I dig into every time. I'm glad you're here. I'll see you in the next one.